I'm Dr. Craig Anderson, and today we're going to talk about something you may have never heard of before, called osteogenic loading.
Welcome to the Healthy Habits Podcast with Dr. Craig Anderson. Here we discuss food, fitness, and physiology for your busy life. Dr. Anderson is a board-certified chiropractic physician, featured speaker, and health expert who has helped thousands of patients get well and stay well. So if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, get ready to break the old habits and build something new with your host, Dr. Craig Anderson.
So with me is my longtime patient and good friend, Mike Bowie. And Mike is beginning a new endeavor. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit as we get into this. But through this process of his new endeavor, he's come across a lot of just very good information that I think is generally beneficial for anyone who has bones.
If you have bones, exactly.
Bones, yep. And as a chiropractor, in my history of being a chiropractor, I'm a big fan of healthy bones. And so what we're going to talk about is making our skeletons as healthy as possible. So let's start, Mike, by just talking about the audience that we are addressing right now. So is this the kind of thing we're talking to very old women? Who should be listening to what we're going to say here in a few minutes?
Well, we are absolutely speaking to those postmenopausal women. Absolutely. That seems to be the biggest focus of what we do. However, it's remarkable how younger people, even high school athletes or non-athletes, benefit from osteogenic loading.
When we think of bones and we think of brittle bones and bone issues, we always think of that older person who's kind of hunched over, the classic osteoporosis kind of look. Mm-hmm. And the thing about bones, most people I think know this if they think about it, is that the consequences of a poor lifestyle takes decades to manifest. So when you get that older person who's bent over and experiencing compression fractures, the damage has been building for decades and decades.
Right.
So if you back it up and you take that 20-year-old and you start having good skeletal hygiene, mm-hmm. From that point on, then you're going to be a strong old person.
Exactly.
So what we're going to talk about really covers all the bases here.
It's remarkable, the bone health issues that you, as a chiropractor, you're concerned with, that you're passionate about, that drew you into chiropractic work. And the same thing that draws us in at OsteoStrong, they are simple to do. Those healthy habits are very simple to do, yet they're simple to not do.
Yeah.
It's easy to not do them.
Yeah, so why don't you give me kind of the 5 or 6 sentence summary of what OsteoStrong is, kind of where your business is coming from, what you're going to be doing here, and then we'll talk a little bit more of the physiology of bones, and then we'll finish up with more of the details of where you're located, and we'll take it from there. So
sure.
Tell me about OsteoStrong. What are we talking about?
OsteoStrong, it really is remarkable, Craig, in that it's a very unique place that you can go to improve your overall health by focusing on really the one thing we all have in common, a skeletal system.
Yeah.
So,
that's the one thing?
That's the one thing. That's pretty much that. So you can boil it down to the bones, right?
Yeah.
So, OsteoStrong really delivers a higher level of freedom by, unleashing physical development in ways that have never been before attainable. We've really unlock the code to musculoskeletal strength and development. Now, I say musculoskeletal, mm-hmm. So not only do we add, do we have bones in the discussion, but we have the entire musculoskeletal chain in the discussion. That's really our primary concern.
So this process called osteogenic loading, let's mm-hmm. explore that a little bit,
sure.
Talk about that. So if we just look at the term osteogenic, so osteo, bone, it's Latin for bones. Mm-hmm. Genic, meaning kind of the source of, and you're loading. So we're applying a load to bones.
Right.
One of the things that I've always known about bones, and have observed this in children, is the length, the growth of legs in children. So you have a adolescent, their legs are going to actually grow a little differently. So one's going to grow more, and that's going to load the other leg. and that's going to accelerate growth. That's going to load the other leg and accelerate growth. And so you have this stair-step effect. It's just amazing. So when we're looking at posture in kids, we never really expect perfect balance because they're just a blob of cells just adapting to the environment. But the osteogenic loading is happening naturally in the kids.
It is.
Yeah. So when we get older, take it from there. So
well, sure. I'm really glad you said that because children, by the nature of being children, do what they do. They're rough and tumble. They jump out of trees. They jump off roofs. They do silly things that we would never do as mature adults. And what they're doing is creating impact. And there's a level of impact that we never knew that this particular level of impact was the measure, the minimum dose load to trigger osteogenic loading. And we'll get to that in a moment. But you mentioned children, and of course, again, they're rough and tumble, they fall, and that triggers osteogenesis. Therefore, the bones grow. But as we get older, we don't do those things. Unless you're a professional football player, you're not tackling. I've known you for 9 years, and I assure you tell the crowd, I've never tackled you.
Yeah. No,
okay.
No, not at all.
Right. So
we don't do that.
Children create impact, triggering osteogenesis. Now, as adults, we don't do that. So we want to emulate that impact. We want to create an axial load, emulating the impact that children do naturally at play, causing osteogenesis. Well, adults, we don't have that impact. So we do impact emulation. And that's what we use to trigger osteogenesis. But we do it in a safe, very safe, controlled environment. You don't want grandma jumping off a table to trigger osteogenesis.
Yeah. What's that called when you do the parkour?
Right.
Parkour, yeah.
Yeah. My children do
that. Doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I guess that's a different story. So we're not doing parkour here.
There's no parkour. Okay. It's very controlled, very safe environment.
Okay. So if you go, so you take an average patient and they may have some diagnosis of osteopenia, some bone loss. The strategy typically is take some calcium and get some exercise. And the general advice internal medicine doctors, general practitioners are going to give is do some weight-bearing exercise.
Right.
Take your calcium. Come back in a year, and we'll keep checking that until it gets so bad that we'll give you a medication.
Right.
That's usually the flow.
Right.
And so we know that weight-bearing exercise helps for sure. And so osteogenic loading, from what I understand, is a component of weight-bearing exercise. But what OsteoStrong has done is kind of teased that component out and revved it up so that it equals the threshold that causes the osteogenesis.
Right. We know that everything that you said is true. We know that osteopenia, osteoporosis, doctors will prescribe exercise, various supplements, and perhaps anabolic drugs, bisphosphonates. Fast forward, we have extracted this formula to osteogenesis. And we've made it in a very safe way to do so naturally. We don't offer pharmaceuticals. We don't offer supplements. We trigger osteogenic loading with a very safe isometric type exercise. Imagine
that means there's no range of motion. So the person is just still.
We're not moving weight through space. Okay. So this isn't like we're not moving weight through space. We're not causing muscle tissue fatigue, breaking down that tissue with the sarcoplasm inrush and rebuilding and padding, and we're not bulking you up. But what we're doing is through your own strength, we're creating this axial load in a very safe, controlled environment under your own strength. Yeah. So there are 4 robotic musculoskeletal strengthening machines that we have. And you move through each one with a session coach. And that session coach will line you up correctly, adjust the machine so you're at the exact correct angles for the maximum impact emulation. And under your own strength, these machines don't do anything to you. Nothing is imposed upon you. You're imposing your strength in a resistance motion. And you're getting biofeedback from the screen telling you your force production. Okay. So over time, you'll see that you're gaining strength. And also, now would be a good time to mention that we know the amount of force production that you must have. We know the amount of load that you must exact on your skeleton in order to trigger osteogenesis. There was a study in 2012 in Great Britain, and 1,000 subjects were tested on various activities, and the amount of force, or the load that they imposed on their bones or skeleton, was measured. Those who were above this threshold resulted in osteogenesis. Those below, none. And that's 4.2 multiples of your body weight. You can't achieve that load safely in the gym, but you can with our OsteoStrong sessions.
That's pretty cool. So this idea of osteogenic loading is it's just fantastic. It's the way our bodies work. From a chiropractor, it's my everyday life. I look at the effects of lack of loading. I look at people who have improper bone density. Maybe there's too much density one side of the bone and not enough on the other side. When you get these imbalances of density, it almost always comes down to the joint not being loaded in the center. And so there's another law. So you've talked about Wolff's Law.
Right.
So you want to define that for our audience?
Dr. Julius Wolff in the 1890s. This is still taught in medical schools today.
It's a law.
It is a law of medicine. Discovered that if you impose a force or a load on a bone, it will reform itself or regenerate bone tissue. And that really was the beginning of OsteoStrong. That was the birth of OsteoStrong, with Dr. John Jaquish in his undergraduate studies learning about this, and his mother being diagnosed with osteoporosis. Well, it was his passion to develop a system under Wolff's Law that he could load his mother's bones to trigger osteogenesis and reverse osteoporosis. And she's alive and well in her 70s today and has the bones of a 30-year-old woman.
Excellent. It's cool. If you look at an x-ray of a femur, you know how it's, I'll put up an x-ray on this video if you're watching here, but you know how it kind of bends in and attaches to the pelvis? Mm-hmm. If you look at that femur, you see a lot of lines where the force is going through. So you can see where the body has been experiencing force over the years and how it lays down these trabecular patterns in the line of the force. And you can also see disuse, so you can see all this stuff. So Wolff's Law is kind of the gold standard for the way bones work and how they respond. Another law under that is called Hoyter-Volkmann's Law. And that's something that it goes with Wolff's Law, but it's more of motion and mechanism in the joint. So if you have somebody who's totally crooked and they're undergoing a compression, there's going to be changes in the bones. And it explains why people get scoliosis. And once you get scoliosis, it's never going to be straight. You can get some improvement, but it'll never be straight because the bones actually change to that. So I can envision someone who's doing osteogenic loading and making sure it's done with the best posture you can visualize. Mm-hmm. That's probably a part of the whole
Absolutely.
process. Really good posture. And then from the chiropractic perspective, we always look at segmental issues. And if there's a segment or two that's really out of whack, getting that balanced and working the best possible when the loading's happening, I think would just be the best of both worlds.
It is. It's a very synergistic relationship between chiropractic and OsteoStrong.
I've sent a few people over to the other center here in St. Louis. Mm-hmm. And so why don't we, let's talk a little bit about the strength component of doing this, and then we'll talk about your business.
Sure. And
where you're opening up and some time frames there if anyone's interested. And then we'll wrap it up. So you can also gain strength by doing this.
You can. That's a remarkable component of what OsteoStrong offers is during these sessions, we're also triggering what's called myofibril hypertrophy, which simply means we're, in a very basic sense of the word, we're taking your muscles on a cellular level and we're increasing the density or strength. So the best analogy is imagine your muscle is a rope. And through myofibril hypertrophy, we're turning that into a cable. It's kind of a silly analogy, perhaps, but we're taking something that is a level of strength, but we're dramatically strengthening. Yeah. And what we find is dramatic strength increases without bulking up. For instance, there was a study in 2015, 500 subjects in a 4-year study, average age of 52, so there were 30s and 40s and 60s and 70s. And the goal was to see how much strength we were increasing. And the hope was it was maybe 20, 30% perhaps over 2, 3, 4 years. But what we found is that in a 1-year study, with an average age of 52 years, in 1 year, we saw an average strength increase of 73%, 2 years, 138%, 3 years, 201%, and 4 years, 290% strength increase as a result of these sessions. It was really, an eye-opening study.
No, that goes right in the face of something we hear all the time in my practice. I'm just old. I'm old now. I just can't do stuff.
Right.
People get to a point where they've had so much pain, so much weakness, imbalance, dysfunction, and they've kind of mentally decided that's just the way I'm going to be. Over the years, I've given the advice of doing isometric exercises for people who have a lot of health problems, especially older people. Isometric. The chance of injury is almost brought to zero when you're doing no range of motion, but you're using the muscles, but you're not doing a bunch of stuff. Especially if you have arthritis, you really want to do isometric. That's why built into when you introduce this to me, this osteogenic loading and the way that OsteoStrong does that. When you introduced it to me, I thought, those are the principles I've been using.
It's something
forever.
You've known forever, right?
It's
right.
This sounds like the best. So I'm looking forward to seeing how well it goes.
The thing that we've done is we've turned it into a technology and into sessions that are open to the public. We've made it available to the public. This is something that doctors and chiropractors have known of, but suddenly this is an opportunity for the general public to have this in a very safe, effective way. And you've known about isometric exercise, but what's remarkable in these studies, we've determined not only that it is good and it does what we say it does what the results note, but also we've determined the best angle, the best posture, the best seating arrangement, the best series, the best order to structure these. The best order to structure your sessions so you get the maximum result, starting with vibration, through the spectrum machinery, which is what we call our osteogenic loading machines, the spectrum machinery, ending with vibration therapy as well.
So you have to do this like 3 times a day, I guess, huh?
No, you really do it once a week.
Okay.
The remarkable thing is it takes about 7 to 10 minutes once a week. And if you do it more, it actually, you'll actually reduce the result. Okay. So it's a very long curve. Unlike moving weight through space, you have to keep doing that consistently. And if you take a week or 2, or heaven forbid you take a month off from the gym, you kind of start over with soreness, and that you start the chain over again. With these sessions, it's 7 to 10 minutes once a week. And if you miss a week, it's okay. You're not going to atrophy like you do in a gym.
It's the long game. I mean,
it is the long game.
Health.
True. Very true.
All right. So, I think we've covered some stuff that would be of interest. We talked.
I think it's a great intro. Yeah.
So let's just let's go into just a little bit about specifically the business. So we're sitting in this not finished office.
Right. It's exciting. This is being built out now. There is a facility in Creve Coeur off Olive and 270 that has been open since July of 2016. My great friends Laura and Johnny Harper own that center. So if you're in the St. Louis area, please look up OsteoStrong STL St. Louis and get in touch with them.
Is that .com?
They are. Well, what you'll want to do is our website, our main website on a corporate level is osteostrong.me. That's OSTEOSTRONG.me, and you'll find locations across the country, including mine in O'Fallon. We're located at 44 Crossroads Plaza in O'Fallon. That's O'Fallon, Missouri 63366. We open on October 2nd. So our grand opening week is the first week of October. My wife Christine and I are thrilled beyond measure to bring this to O'Fallon and St. Charles area. I believe this is going to impact our community And from what we've discussed tonight or this afternoon, it's this is just one focus. But as we age, think this through. We're entering into the second half of our lives, right? We want to remain vital. We want to be able to carry our groceries, climb the stairs, pick up our grandkids. We want to be strong and vital. So that's what we bring to this community in O'Fallon, St. Charles area, Wentzville, Warrenton, Troy. So the first week of October, and our grand opening party, which you're invited to, Craig, and all of your friends, is October 4th, Wednesday, from 5 to 7 p.m.
All right. Sounds good. So you have slip and slide here. You have like a
if you bring it
kind of thing.
I'll set it up.
Okay.
We're going to have fun. We're going to have food. We'll have some drawings and giveaways. I don't know.
Open, you'd be able to kind of get a feel for, like, would you be able to do some sample sessions? Kind of
we can. We certainly can. It's going to be a party, but what I would encourage you to do is call me in advance and set up an appointment. We do have a limited number of appointments that we'll schedule during the grand opening week. And you'll want to allot about, let's say, 50, 60 minutes because we want to tell you about the technology. We want to show you the result you're likely to anticipate. We want to take you through a session, have you enjoy a session with what we do. And, of course, we'd love for you to enjoy the hydro massage as a kind of icing on the cake. So call me at 636-238-8696, and let's get you scheduled for an appointment during our grand opening week. Our first 100 members will receive $100 off the joining fee. And if you join during our grand opening week, there'll be additional incentives as well. Nice. So we look forward to seeing you.
Well, thanks for your time, Mike. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Craig.